Appreciate everybody coming out here this afternoon, come to see this presentation. AI-driven OSINT. So this talk came about mainly because I was doing so many AI presentations last year. I said I need a fresh angle. I want to look at something different. And OSINT has always been something that has been of interest. I've done some work in it. So I did some research and talked with other OSINT investigators and put this presentation together. I did do this for KnowBe4 in a webinar before back in November. But for here, I refurbed it because it's a different audience than what I have at KnowBe4. So, I love this quote from Kevin Mitnick, and I think pretty well everybody in here knows who Kevin Mitnick is. He was our chief hacking officer at KnowBe4 for a number of years. But his quote when it came to getting inside an organization, often starts with information that we feel may be so innocent, so unimportant, we don't see why we need to protect it. And when it comes to social engineering, a lot of social engineers, scammers, cybercriminals, they're going to leverage that to be able to build rapport to gain access into organizations. So my name is James McQuiggan. I am a security awareness advocate for KnowBe4. Essentially, I go around, I provide thought leadership to everybody from the mailroom to the boardroom. And I've been with KnowBe4 now for a little over 5 years, and pretty well one of my favorite jobs I've ever had. I also teach cyber threat intelligence at Full Sail University. That's in Orlando, Florida. I'm also a part of the ISC2 Advisory Council for North America. I just finished 8 years as past president at the ISC2 Central Florida chapter. Pretty well revitalized and ran that for 8 years and had a lot of fun with that. I'm also the OSINT investigator, and also kind of CTO is what she calls me, but a company called Quilligence that does fraud investigation. It's actually my cousin's company. When she started it and she was looking for some technical support and help, I said, sure, I can help you out. And next thing she knows, she comes to me and she goes, do you know anything about OSINT? I'm like, a little bit. So that little bit grew a lot and was successful with working with her in helping a certain celebrity case a few years ago that dealt with a pirate and somebody that swam in the water. So you can figure that out. One of the things I got to do was to analyze a lot of the images that were taken of Miss Heard because of the accounts and statements she was making that she had been battered and beaten by Johnny. I looked at the images and was able to pinpoint date, time, who took the picture, and that kind of thing as part of that investigation. So I recently just got an open source certification as well. And I spent 18 years working for a little German company called Siemens. So I've done everything from network security, compliance, databases, all that good stuff. So with working at KnowBe4, essentially what my job is to go around and talk with people about the importance of securing dried grapes. Yeah, it's raising security awareness. Shut up. They don't get any better. I'm just letting you know now. But they're sprinkled through the presentation, so hopefully provide some lightheartedness to the topic. So, AI and OSINT, proficient tools or efficient cybercriminals? What I'm going to go through here the next 2 hours, I think they told me I got a special section. No, I'm kidding. We're doing 50 minutes. Talk about how AI and OSINT are working together and how different aspects, different applications, different capabilities in AI. Understand how cybercriminals are using it and leveraging it for their OSINT recon and investigations. And then how we can develop AI strategies, OSINT procedures for being able to protect our organizations that we work for. So essentially, the same AI that helps security teams automate intelligence, because we're all using AI, can also be leveraged by cybercriminals at scale. So the question is, who's innovating faster? And we've seen it over the years in all other tech examples, anti-malware, ransomware, those kind of things. So again, now we start looking at this with regards to OSINT, artificial intelligence. Who's going to be able to innovate faster? Are they going to develop something and then we have to figure out a way to stop it? Or are we going to be able to get ahead of the curve? All right. So I'm going to do a baseline, because as a college professor, I always like to baseline everybody, make sure everybody's on the same page, do a little review of AI and OSINT, talk about OSINT and AI collection. I pulled the OSINT and social engineering because I figure everybody knows about social engineering. I'm going to look at OSINT and AI and now the different attack vectors, and then how to protect and defend. All right, so AI and OSINT. Anybody work as an OSINT investigator that does OSINT for their organization? One. Okay, cool, great. Then I can tell you anything and I should be fine. No. Anybody working with AI in their organization? Yeah, I figure most of us would be. Okay. Anybody not like AI? Wow. Okay, thanks for being honest. I appreciate it. The same guy that raised his hand that does OSINT AI also hates AI, so I can certainly appreciate that. So when we talk about open source intelligence, essentially it's publicly available information that we can go out on the internet or go get public records, essentially being able to find information that is readily and publicly available, everything from documents to images, videos, audio recordings, whatever it may be, maps, geolocation of data, maybe even social media, and basically pulling all of that information, analyzing all of it. Now, when we look at the different various intelligence methods that we've got out there, we're all familiar with threat intelligence. If we're working on a blue team, we have open source intelligence. We have human intelligence looking at interpersonal communication. Social engineers love to rely on that. We have SOC or social media intelligence, where we're leveraging information that we find on social media about a particular person, a particular organization. And then we have geolocation intelligence, GeoInt. And if you've ever played the game where they give you a picture taken somewhere in the world and you've got to figure out where it is, that's relying on that geolocation intelligence, utilizing geographic data to essentially figure out where that picture actually is, and then you got to pick it on the map. But a lot of that, we're seeing different AI tools that come available. But with regards to OSINT, it's part of the cyber kill chain process, essentially reconnaissance, because all of our OSINT, all of our recon work that we're going to do, we're going to rely on some type of open source intelligence, whether we're using social media, we're relying on physical records, public records, whatever it may be, to go through and do that recon of whatever our target is. So we go through a process with intelligence. We have to go through and plan and have the requirements, figure out, okay, what is our target? What's the scope? What can we go out and leverage and use? We go out and then collect all that information, process it, evaluate it to make sure we can attribute it, align it. Because if we go through and we find somebody, we're looking for someone based off a particular picture, and we find a name, well, then we have to make sure that we can get multiple sources to verify that that's the actual person. We can't just rely on the one image to the one name and the phone number and go, hey, woo, we found the person and we got it and we're off. We have to make sure that we have that attribution, and we saw a lot of issues with regards to OSINT getting it wrong, we'll say, but more or less it came down to the people getting it wrong, back with the Boston bomber, back with January 6th, where people were looking up information about particular people, determining that that's the person, and they unfortunately had the wrong person selected, and the unfortunate events that happened to that person or those people because of essentially the doxing. So we have to go through and analyze, do that attribution with regards to the OSINT information that we've collected, and then we're consuming it, processing it, running it through tools, creating reports, and submitting that to whoever either we've been hired or for whatever investigation that's been done. If we look at this from a business perspective, if we're targeting a business, we're going to look at a company website. We're going to look at press releases. We're going to look at Indeed, LinkedIn, look at the people that are working at that particular organization, and figure out based on either executives or based on the people that might be working there, either in the retail stores, if it's retail, working in, whatever different aspects of the organization overall. Then if we're going to do a deeper dive, then we're going to start looking at their social media, LinkedIn, Facebook, TikTok, whatever that we can find on them to gather up more information. Maybe we're looking for a badge ID. Maybe we're looking for trying to get an understanding of what their email addresses might be, that format. We may then, after that, once we've collected that information, dive a little deeper and do Google dorking. Maybe you leverage some different web tools, looking at the website, or utilizing a variety of different OSINT tools, and then being able to compile all that into a report and delivering it to whoever we've been hired or whatever the investigation is. If we're going to do it for an individual, we have a lot of opportunities. Again, we got to go through and define whatever the scope is going to be. Go through and start collecting data. You can leverage a whole bunch of different OSINT tools like Harvester. You can do Google Dork, social media investigations, do image and facial recognition. Looking at breach data. Breach data's always got lots of good info, like passwords. You've got geolocation activity data. If you can track them, we had the young gentleman on Twitter that was tracking where Elon Musk was flying on his airplane, leveraging that geolocation activity training, and now is doing it for other people that are flying. Corporate and public records, going after, that's always been the original OSINT essentially, but with the dawn of the internet and everything being put out there, the corporate and public records were the original things a lot of people went with. Maybe even looking at the dark web, looking to find information on there about the person, again, could relate to breach data. And then, of course, putting it all together in a report or an analysis overall with regards to that. So how protected are they? Are people online? People like content creators. Let's see, where are we? 2025. So 5 years ago, almost 5 years ago, when the world shut down with COVID and we were all stuck working at home, some of us got on TikTok for entertainment purposes. I wasn't posting content. And one of the particular people, why she kept coming across my For You page, I don't know, maybe because I live 35 minutes from Disney, but this particular person, Magic with Meg D, had a TikTok page and she was posting. And I'd been working on an OSINT investigation at that time, and I was like, I wonder if let me just start with her. Let me see how much information I can find out about this person. Google search comes up. There's TikTok, there's Instagram, there's YouTube, there's Threads nowadays. I redid my OSINT search a couple weeks ago for this. So I find all this information. Going on to the second page, I find voter records because the person lives in Florida. That kind of information is online. I have redacted this to hide all the sensitive information. If you want to go look for Meg, that's up to you. But what I was able to find, I got an address, I got a phone number, I got how old she was. Then I went and leveraged another tool called cyber background checks, plugged in the information I had and was able to verify it, had a second source, and was able to attribute that going, okay, this is where she is, this is where she lives, this is her cell phone number, these are her parents, this is where she went to high school, this was her husband, they're now divorced, here's the court information. And I did all that in less than half an hour. So with content, I would love to see if TikTok would let me come and talk to their folks, how to protect yourself online. So essentially, thinking you're anonymous online, well, your LinkedIn, Instagram, and TikTok profiles say otherwise. All right, so the power of OSINT, it's not just about collecting data. It's knowing what to do with it when you get it, how to analyze it, do that attribution, how to then be able to process it into a report. So the question is, are we teaching defenders as fast as attackers are learning? Again, it goes back to that original question of, who's leading this? Are we doing it, or are the cyber criminals that are out there? All right, really quick, I think a lot of us in the room are familiar with artificial intelligence, machine learning, deep learning, large language models, neural networks. We've been basically engrossed in it in our society for the last couple of years. I want to touch upon kind of what's going to be is a hot topic right now and will continue for the rest of the year. AI agents essentially is a major technical shift, and it's going to essentially be that huge moneymaker for a lot of organizations, coming from our good friend Jensen over at NVIDIA. So when we look at AI, generative AI, and AI agents, oh my, we can go back to Alan Turing, the Turing test back in the 50s. End of 2022, we have that explosion with generative AI, large language models, neural networks being conversational, and a lot more people using it than just the IT cyber folks or whatever. We've got everybody using it. And now we're looking at AI agents that build upon that AI, generative AI, and essentially is that next evolution. The way I look at it is what social media did for the internet is what AI agents is going to do for AI overall. It's going to allow even more people to be able to start accessing it using different capabilities of AI overall. So basically, as the difficulty levels go down and makes it a lot easier to start using, and we have a lot more people start leveraging it overall with regards to the agents. Being able to, with the agents, doing data-driven decision-making. We're looking at, being able to collect large amounts of data, either from a website or data that we've collected, and then start doing decision-making based on information that we have, kind of predictive. Machine learning, we know about logic-based reasoning, and we're starting to hear about that's coming along very quickly. Reinforcement learning, predictive modeling, and natural NLP, natural language processing. So we already know that these are here and being able to leverage with regards to AI agents. When we look at what the AI agent market was back at the end of 2023, these were the handful of AI agent tools, services that were available. This is what it was in December of 24. So, and I have a feeling those fonts will get a lot smaller and it'll fill the whole page by the end of this year. So essentially, and I know that we've got folks here from, different parts of the world. I met someone the other day that was here from Denmark, which is great. I had the pleasure of going to Europe and Denmark last summer on vacation with my family. It was a real treat to be able to take all of them. I had so much fun that when I came back home from that trip, I decided to draw a map of Europe, but I did it from memory. There you go. Ramming it right to you. Okay, so OSINT Collection and AI. Talking about how we can leverage AI to do that OSINT collection for us. So how often, I'm curious, because I know not everybody's doing OSINT, but how often is your organization conducting OSINT on itself? This is probably what your red team, your pen testers might be doing, to see what cyber criminals can find. We can use OSINT to secure organizations, but if we're using AI to automate OSINT to protect against cyber attacks. So some of the things that we've been seeing already, some of the stuff that's being used, we're looking at AI for doing data collection, optimizing that data collection, and then improving our analysis for that overall. Looking at web crawling, going through and collecting information from websites, scraping, leveraging that through large language models, Google dorking, Shodan, and then all the ends, social intelligence, geointelligence, human intelligence, and so forth overall. So we're seeing that we're able to start leveraging AI for those, and I've got some fun examples. So who's done Google dorking? I would expect, I would expect almost every hand to go up. Who loves to Google dork? Cool, okay, not as many hands went up that time, that's fine. So we could do a Google search and, we get a basic step. And then we can take it to the next level, new Google dorking and leveraging the different words that we can do. We can then use that to scrape social media and then have AI for, automated reconnaissance. But going through and doing Google dorking, for us, it's like, okay, got to remember what the different terms are. The more we use it, the more comfortable we get with it. But one of the things that I had fun with ChatGPT with is I turned around and I said, okay, create a series of Google dork queries to search for information about an organization. So that way I could just take the Google without having to think what the syntax and all that stuff. So I basically got finding documents, exposed login portals, publicly exposed email address configuration files, finding exposed directories, searching for subdomains, and then looking for sensitive information in error messages. It gave me that in seconds. So then I can go basically create a script off of that and then start running it, providing it either the website or the organization, and then being able to start leveraging Google dorking, but making it a little easier by using a large language model to help me out. Who loves Shodan? Yeah, most of us, some of us, okay. I bring up Shodan because it's one of the parts, it's one of the tools I teach in the threat intelligence class. And then the Harvester is another fun tool as well. So I decided to put the large language ChatGPT through it, and I said, okay, you're a cybersecurity professional, 20 years, red teaming, pen testing. I want to give me some Shodan queries that I can leverage. And again, you can leverage your API, your coding capabilities, and basically run through all these different filters based off domain, IP range, specific ports, the technology, vulnerabilities based off CVE, looking at operating systems, maybe even combining the filters, keywords, and again, being able to process all that, depending on whatever your favorite scripting language is, being able to generate your information, start collecting information a lot easier. Decided to do it with the Harvester. And again, it was able to come back with, again, looking for organization information, domain information, and then again, certificates, so forth, just a whole variety of different information about the organization and what they have in their technology. And again, putting it into a script, running it on the system, getting out a report very, very quickly. So rather than typing each command in individually, or even you have written a script, I just had ChatGPT write it for me by itself. Image analysis. So another capability of AI is going through and looking at an image and then trying to determine where it's from. And so GeoSpy is one application that's out there. They have a limited, or they're very restrictive on who they're letting in, but they have some demo files. And I grabbed the demo file. And this, of course, does anybody recognize the place? Mount Fuji. And this is what it says. The image shows Mount Fuji in the background, which is located in Japan. The Tokyo Tower is also visible in the foreground, which is communications and observation tower in Tokyo, Japan. And the little globe that you see in the shot is where that picture would have been taken. I'm like, okay, this is pretty cool. So I went and found some other AI geo imaging tools that will determine where your picture was taken. So I took two pictures that I have taken. One was on Highway 17 in South Carolina as I was heading to Charleston for Simply CyberCon last year. Woohoo! Yep. And then the other location was Mount Charleston in Nevada, which is about 40 minutes outside of Las Vegas. And it's funny because you look at that second picture and you wouldn't think it was Las Vegas. So basically, these are the locations where the pictures were taken. I apologize, it's probably difficult to see, but basically I had the geo data on there for the images, and I removed it before I uploaded it to the service. So this was the service, this was Lenzo.ai, and this is me dropping in those two images, and it goes through and it processes trying to determine where the image is. And as we go through, we've got Canada, we've got driving across America on I-70, and then I basically dropped it into GeoSpy, and it was interesting where it picked up where it actually was located. Jacksonville. That first image was South Carolina. So it felt that it was in Jacksonville, so it missed it. So then it's okay, and because it says, it recognizes the photo was taken on a highway near Jacksonville. All right, maybe near Jacksonville, but it's a long way up to South Carolina. So here's the second image that I decided to run through. This is the one in Mount Charleston, Nevada, just north of Las Vegas. And it recognizes it, and it actually finds this one. Las Vegas hotels off strip. In that website, it had an image very similar, so it was able to find that location and recognize it. Yep, it was Mount Charleston. So, okay, 1 out of 2, not bad. But it picked the place in Las Vegas, not the actual place out at Mount Charleston. So I decided, okay, let's see how ChatGPT does. Let's put this through a large language model. So I said, you're a world expert in geolocation image analysis. Can you tell me where these two mystery images were taken? And then I dropped the images in. And it goes through, click, there we go. And it goes through and processes. And what we end up getting, so GeoSpy failed on the first one, successful on the second one. And what you see in the boxes, the text, is what ChatGPT came back with. Again, describing the image. Shows a flat open highway, grassy fields, minimal vegetation, and a single car on the opposite side of the road. So it's recognizing that image. It's relatively plain, clear skies, visible. Suggest areas in the Midwest or southeast of the United States. South Carolina, southeast? Yeah, close. Suggests Midwest or southeast, possibly near coastal plains or marshlands. So not too bad there. And then the other one, mountainous forested area, tall pines, trees, mountainous backdrop. But it recognized it as Mount Charleston as well. So ChatGPT was able to determine where these pictures were taken. So we've got the geo capability, we've got the image analysis that it's able to do using AI. So if we have images, we can go through. We're now looking at Agentic AI, where you can do it with scripting and coding. And you've got AI exploits, you've got Grok, you've got a variety. These are just like a small sample of tools. Or you've now got drag and drop automation that's out there. N8N, or Nodemation, Flozy AI, Make, and HeyBoss. And one of the things, and I've played around with all 4 of these, but with regards to the Shodan agentic function, I was actually looking to see, okay, is there a way that we could, use one of these AI automated tools, and with N8N, or N8N, you've got a whole workflow overview that's basically going through and looking at IP addresses, querying it for open ports, and coming back. And it's running that report every day. So if you had a particular target organization, you would have an automated script just running, and this is all drag and drop that it's doing within the application. There are other tools that you can leverage automation or AI capabilities like Spiderfoot, Maltego, Recon NG. You can script it to leverage Recon. And then, of course, there's another one here called Penlink that's using an AI-driven intelligence to be able to go through and do updates based off of, like Maltego, go through and do social media updates. One of the biggest tasks that my cousin, who owns the fraud investigation company, she ends up hiring people to monitor social media sites. And we're working to try to transition, rather than having all those people monitoring it, that we rely on something like Maltego or some other tool that I'm working on, trying to do it in that Make site or the Hey Boss, to be able to go through and have it monitor and alert us when there's been a change to social media. Because a lot of the time in the investigations, we're looking to see if that person is posting anything incriminating, posting new YouTube, posting new podcasts, or making post on Facebook or Instagram, whatever it may be. But we actually have a human that sits there and monitors it for a 12-hour session. So we're working to try to get that so we can do it electronically. All right. Now, Firefox, Edge, Chrome, they all went shopping. But they didn't buy anything. It's because they're all browsers. I thrive on that. Thank you very much. All right. Yep, those two. All right, so let's talk about the different attack vectors. When we look at Agentic AI, there's the capabilities for cyber criminals to be able to do automated phishing. They've got their target, they're automatically going out, finding all the email addresses associated with it, then running a script, running the email that they're going to be sending into that organization. Maybe even malware developments. We've already heard about polymorphic malware, but now being able to leverage AI agents to go through and evade detection based off of AI. Network scanning, automating, like what we saw, you get, with scripting with a variety of different tools, using like PyTorch to connect with Nmap and a variety of other things. Data scraping, looking at websites, social media, and then of course, deepfake technology. And I did a whole thing on deepfakes back at virtually for Deadwood. So we know that that's coming. We know that we're seeing OSINT-based credential stuffing attacks. Again, looking at that looking at the dark web research, going through, collecting those emails, those passwords, leveraging machine learning, deep learning, using different AI tools to analyze, to create a variety of different profiles, essentially, of whoever your targets are. And then going through and doing that credential stuffing. Because essentially you're looking for account takeovers. Now, the interesting thing about this, and at KnowBe4, this is kind of one of the few times I talk about KnowBe4 in the presentation, but at KnowBe4, we have a six server, we have a rack that's got 6 huge servers in it. And each of those servers have 6 NVIDIA cards. I can't remember which model, but it's probably 2090s, maybe 3090s. And then we have 4 of those servers, that are all connected together. And essentially, it's our huge password cracking rig. And our CISO takes great pride in the fact that he goes through and scans all 2,000 of us, all of our credentials, trying to see if they can crack the passwords, leveraging the GPUs in the system, and then also doing machine learning, looking at all the different passwords that have been, in the variety of data breaches over the years, and then trying to guess essentially the passwords and going through. We're down to about 20 people. Last month, he only cracked 20 users out of 2,000. So we started out at like 35, got down to 30, and so forth. So it's real interesting because he doesn't tell you if your password's been cracked until that Monday when you watch the meeting, and then he puts those passwords up on the screen, and you get to see what some passwords people are coming up with. And we still have people trying to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 in a word. Yeah. And that's KnowBe4. But anyway, so phishing campaigns. Again, we've talked about this. We've been seeing this already, using OSINT, gathering information about the organization, having conversations, socially engineering, leveraging that to be able to then generate emails, When it comes to phishing, cybercriminals have essentially leveled up because now they can write in any kind of language, whether it's Danish, whether it's Dutch, German, Italian, Estonian, French, Russian, whatever it may be. And they're getting a higher success rate with it. We're seeing a lot more of these attacks coming through. We had a report last year from Egress. Essentially, we've seen phishing attacks go up 30% last year. A lot of them are originating from compromised accounts already. So we're seeing more business email compromise. 45% of them could then contain malicious links. And we're seeing more other AI features like deepfakes coming through. Social engineering, again, looking at trying to build those profiles of high-level personnel, doing open source intelligence, leveraging all the different capabilities, social media, emails, and so forth. But also then going to the point where getting audio, getting video images to be able to create those deepfakes, doing face swaps, audio cloning, looking to bypass defenses. And we've already seen that happen already. We know that AI is supercharging those phishing attacks, the social engineering, being even more targeted overall, dealing with that automation, and then, of course, as I mentioned, deepfake. And we're seeing it being sold on the dark web, variety of different large language models, but then also applications to do the face swaps, where you can, you pay a subscription or you're paying a set rate, and you can get the software that goes through and does those deepfakes, where you just give it the image, and all of a sudden it's doing your face swap. And we've seen this, DEF CON had it last year, and it's very easy now to get the software. You just need a fast enough GPU. Now where you can do it, they've got it working with the webcam where it's done live. More so, my good friend Perry Carpenter, who works with me at KnowBe4, that's him on the right, what he normally looks like, but on the far left with the red hair, he basically face swapped himself to look like Taylor Swift. And he's showing, and then on the other image, he's got Ryan Gosling, and he's basically doing this in real time. And if you check out the fake files on YouTube, you can see as he goes through and analyzes the different software that's doing the deepfake face swaps. And basically, if you turn your head all the way over, a lot of the times you can see it's not able to properly create that deepfake that's on there. We've heard that, it was last February, almost a year ago, we had that organization in Hong Kong end up sending out 25 million because of starting with social engineering, with the text messages, and then getting them on a Zoom call, a video call to say that, hey, we need to make this transfer. And the CFO ended up going for it. So ignore the CEO's video call request or transfer the money to the vendor account. It's certainly what employees are going to be dealing with regarding these deepfake scams. Insider threat. They can look at identifying disgruntled employees, monitor their social online activity, leveraging the different social engineering toolkits, and look at trying to recruit them to be able to take action for you. Or you try to get hired into the organization. And this just happened recently. I forgot to put the credit for the person, but they were the person on the left. Yeah, your left, essentially is doing a deep fake swap of their face, trying to look like somebody else. The HR person's not buying it, and he ends up dropping the call. But they're gathering OSINT information, they're generating that deep fake, convincing HR to hire you, and then the CISO realizes that a North Korean was hired. Oops. So, working for KnowBe4, this was a fun story for all of us last year. Certainly an insider threat, but just to kind of, whoops. There we go. I'll leave that up. I'm not going to go through all of it, but you can read over it real quick. But essentially, they used a stock photo, changed their face to be the person that they wanted to be, the North Korean. They passed the background checks, very sophisticated. They passed they gave us referrals. That checked out. We shipped them a laptop, but when we were getting ready to ship them a laptop, we said, they told us, I'm moving to Washington State. Can you have it shipped up there? Okay, sure, no problem. We ship the laptop up there. We track it. We see it's been delivered. We see it get powered on, connecting into our SOC. Through the SOC, we got to see that it was connected to our network. And when new employees are hired, they're only able to connect to the training portal. Within 25 minutes, we start seeing malware being detected. The person's trying to load password stealing software. We try to get the person that we thought we hired on through Slack, and they're giving us excuses. They're too busy. They don't have time to deal with it. So the CISO then gets in touch with the legal department, goes, look, we need to kind of take over this laptop, shut it down, gets the permission, shuts it down, and essentially disables the system. The person that actually hooked up a Raspberry Pi to it as well was trying to connect over a network connection. We then our CISO went back through and discovered this person wasn't who they were say they were. And we reached back out to the person that had the laptop shipped to them, which was apparently the laptop farm engineer that was working there. And we asked them to ship the laptop back. And they did. So as soon as we got it back, it went right to the FBI. Have fun. So yeah, so we ended up changing a bunch of our HR policies. But the interesting thing that came out of this is we had a lot of other organizations come to us and go, oh my gosh, we just realized we hired 10 North Koreans as well. So anybody know what social media platform doesn't allow book clubs? Be quiet. Reddit. Thank you. I got an applause on that one. All right, I'll take that. All right, let's talk about how do we defend? Well, with regards to deepfakes, Perry Carpenter wrote a book called The Fake Files, F.A.I.K. He was really crafty with how he spelt it. But the question isn't really, do we think it's real or not? Or the question we want to ask is look at, similar to what we do with email, kind of take a moment and, we might have an emotional response to the video that we're watching. Want to look at the narrative, maybe emotional triggers, maybe try to do some investigation. If it is somebody on camera, like an HR, is it something where we get them to turn their head or get them to, do certain actions so we can see if it really is, they're doing a swap. But knowing, confirming, and then of course, from keeping vigilant. We're now to a point, for years, we've all said, you can't believe everything you get on the internet. Well, now it's elevated even more, especially with deepfake and the deepfake capabilities. With regards to AI agentic security tips, so, certainly want to supply our AI supply chain that we've got. Again, strong data governance. A lot of this is going to be common sense to what we understand, what we need to do when it comes to protecting software, our research, APIs, that kind of thing. Same thing with AI services and tools as well. Monitoring, training, having clear policies, zero trust principles come in, API gateway security, doing the vulnerability scanning, and of course, input validation. Again, similar to what we're already doing in software development and DevOps. So we're certainly want to carry that over with regards to the AI agents. How do blue teams? How can we defend against AI? Certainly looking at threat intelligence gathering, trying to leverage AI to be able to look at emerging cyber threats. Our incident response automation, we know that, we're always going to need a pilot in the SOC. There's no way it's going to be fully automated, but we can leverage AI to handle a lot of the repetitive and automate those tasks. Social media monitoring, looking at, certain social media accounts if we know that people are trying to target the organization. Looking at anomaly detection, that comes from predictive analysis as well. And then vulnerability management, being able to, again, handle that automated first level type tedious or repetitive work that we're doing overall. For me, there's 3 questions when it comes to email, because as I said, cybercriminals have leveled up when it comes to sending out those phishing emails. For me, and this is because I ended up falling victim to one of our know before phishing assessments, we get phished 2 to 3 times a week. And this happened because I was in the middle of a Zoom call and it was a Zoom email. Like my colleague who got an Uber email while she was in an Uber. So for me, if the email is not expected, that's kind of one of my first triggers. And it kind of goes back to the fact that now when your doorbell rings at home, who's rushing to the door? If you're not expecting anybody. No, you open up your Ring camera or your video camera maybe, or you're trying to peek out a window. We're less likely to not open that door because we're not expecting the person. Whoever's sending it, are they, a stranger? Are they unknown? Are they asking me to do something strange or unusual, or in a immediate or quick response. If I'm answering yes to any of those, there's going to be a verified process. And it took me longer to explain than actually what I go through. But essentially, these 3 questions, helping your users or colleagues that you have in your organization, can help reduce that opportunity as well for a phishing attack. Anybody work for Microsoft in here? No? Oh, okay. Well, that's good. Because does anybody know why Microsoft employees are always anxious? It's because they're on edge. All right. So some final thoughts as we wrap up here. What am I at? 46 minutes. Okay. So cybercriminals are using AI, generative AI, and agentic AI. Sophos released a report recently as they've been looking at on dark web forums, and there isn't a lot of, we'll say, increased interest or a lot of interest by what we're seeing posted on those dark web forums. They're not really embracing a lot of AI. They're using generative AI for the large language models to create those phishing emails, but trying to leverage the other capabilities. They're not seeing it in the forums, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's actually happening. There is some skepticism, and hopefully looking at whether they do more exploration or looking into of AI capabilities with the agents maybe, we might see it from them coming forward. All right. So we know AI is an incredible tool. It's available to all of us. We want to ensure that we're educating everybody. Can't believe everything on the internet, but also being politely paranoid. Our tools are certainly more proficient in automation and analytics, but we want to be aware of the threat landscape, have that data-driven defense overall. So some questions to consider for all of you within your organizations based off this presentation. So, have you ever Googled your company, looked to see what information's out there? Have you ever Googled yourself? Have you used Shodan to check your organization? If you're pen testing, red teaming, most likely. When was the last time your company mapped out its OSINT exposure? From HR and deepfakes, could your hiring team spot a fake applicant with an AI-generated identity? What's your policy with regards to verifying video and voice communications? And are your employees trained to recognize AI-powered manipulation? And if not, let me know. I know a great company. Anyway, AI. So with regards to AI, how is your organization using AI for cyber defense instead of reacting to AI-driven attacks? And what AI-powered OSINT tools have you encountered that concern you the most? These are all kind of questions for you to ponder and consider going forward after today. So finally, anybody know why DNS jokes are so hard? Because it takes 24 hours for people to get it. With that, I want to thank you all for your attention, your time here this afternoon. You're more than welcome to connect with me on LinkedIn. Just let me know you saw my presentation here. I am on X just because. I do have my website, but I'm James McQuiggan at 35,000 feet. And yes, I do have a way of keeping my track of my dad jokes. They're in my database. Yeah, and I got a YouTube channel too, so. Cool. Questions? Do we have time for questions?
You were talking a lot about agents, and I know a lot of what KnowBe4 does is create phishing emails that are like very believable.
Yep.
To get people to click on them. Have you guys started using agents to do that yet?
Wow. I don't know this gentleman, but but thank you. Yes, we actually have 4 that are out right now. We have a tool called Ada, and we now have 4 agents, one of which handles creating those phishing emails, another one that does policy quizzes. If you upload your policy, it'll create all quizzes for you rather than your easy ones. We have another one that does training awareness, creates the different training programs for people based on role. And we are getting ready to roll out 3 more. So we are already leveraging AI agents. I did a talk just before Christmas on AI and agents, and I pulled some of that material and shared it in here. But thank you very much. Great question. Anybody know what a computer and an air conditioner have in common? They're both useless when you open Windows.
So just a quick question. This is not on your main topic, but something you mentioned along the way was about hiring a North Korean hacker.
Yeah.
Are there tips, tricks, things that were learned along the way to help companies avoid that?
There are. I had a slide created of the 10 things we changed, and I couldn't find it in the 80 presentations that I did last year. email me and I will send them to you. We did have a blog that we created on the KnowBe4 site that talked about the different things that we changed. But essentially, a lot of it came down to looking at certain red flags. We now start asking questions in the interview about where the person lives. What do they like about that area? Because sometimes they're just using that city as a location and they don't actually live there. But we did make significant changes to our hiring policy process.
So in your language models that you use,
yeah,
which ones do you prefer off Hugging Face?
Oh, off Hugging Face. Actually, what I've started doing is using Pinocchio. And I know that links back to Hugging Face. But I've been using Pinocchio to do a lot of the installs for doing deepfake swap, RVC for voice changing. I have a buddy of mine that is now, because the challenge right now when it comes to, with regards to the deepfakes, is getting audio and video to be synced up. And a buddy of mine was able to get it to work. So now I'm working, trying to do it on my Mac, trying to get it there. But I don't visit Hugging Face a lot. I wish I could, or could spend more time. Right now, but I have been playing around with Pinocchio, and I know it links back into there to a lot of the different tools.
Do you do anything with Stable Diffusion?
My colleague does. I've played around with Stable Diffusion a little bit, but I just cheat and go to ChatGPT and DALL-E. Thank you again, and enjoy the rest of the time here at the conference.